Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I wanted to talk about a couple things that I don't think I've gotten a chance to talk about on here because I've had, the last couple of months have been off. Like I've had off time and just really been taking in all of the blessings and all of the favor of the Lord in these last couple months. And I think those times are so special and important because a lot of times we're going through trials and a lot of times we're going through things that the Lord allows us to go through that we would be strengthened. Everything, if you're living a life surrendered to God, there is a surety in everything that is ordained in your life. It has been ordained. If it has reached you, it is because the Lord has used it for good. Is going to use it for good. He's going to use it to strengthen you, to mature you, to help you to hear him in greater ways. And one of the things that I really haven't gotten the time to touch on it because we're just recently, my husband and I were just recently coming into this new chapter of our lives, and things are not yet solidified. He's still in another country, I'm still here, and we're waiting on the Lord, as we should, to give us the direction of the next steps of our life. So in this can come questions, can come fear, anxiety, all of the normal emotions of, as we learn to trust the Lord in greater ways. We realize that at least for us, let me just speak for us, we're realizing that the Lord, for a while now, a couple years, he hasn't really allowed us to plan, and I never realized how much faith that really takes, how much trust that really takes to trust our God, our Father, our friend, to truly lead and direct every step of our life. So it comes with all of these different emotions. And so in this new, I would say the last couple of years of my life have drastically changed. The last 3 years specifically, when he called me to surrender everything, he really began to show me how to hear him, how to be led by the Holy Spirit. He began to speak to me outside of the scriptures. He began to show me a lot of things. What one of the friends on here called it was a deconstruction. I really had to surrender everything that I've ever learned and just lay it at the feet of God. And so with this surrender came new ways of hearing him. He began to speak to me through all of creation. And so a lot of times, especially in the beginning, the Lord would, like an infant, he would nurture us. He would nurture me in this way, and he would give me signs continually. And what I've noticed recently is that he wants us to hear him with accuracy. And so there's this place of nurturing when you first come into a new thing, where he'll nurture you. He'll be patient with you, and he's always patient with us. But there's this nurturing that happens where it's like almost like you would a child. You're continually there at their beckoning call, like you would a small infant. They need you, right? And that's how God was for a very beginning stages of me hearing him in different ways. And so as time progressed, I realized, after the fulfillment of the promise that I had waited on the longest, which was the restoration of my marriage, and this came with so many revelations, so many things. And so this also came with many mistakes, just like anything new. When we learn to listen, this is something we learn. When we learn to communicate, communication is something that we learn to do. It's not something that we just know how to do. And this goes also for God. So we're in this on this journey where we are learning to hear God. We're learning to communicate with God. We're learning how to be sensitive to his direction and his voice and the way that he desires to communicate with us through different seasons of our life. And so one of the things I was able to see when he brought the fulfillment of the promise, and he brought and revealed to me who my husband was, I also was able to go back through all of the notes where God gave me promises and signs and wonders. And I was able to see where I made mistakes. And by the grace of God, the majority of the ways of communication, even the places that I actually believed that I was doubting in some areas, thinking like, I'm going to write this down, but I'm not sure if this was you. I would say, as I look back today at all of the things that I wrote down in my journal entries about the signs and the directions and things that God was telling me about my husband, I would say about 90% of them were correct. But there was a 10% where there were mistakes. And recently the Lord told me, I want to teach you to hear me with accuracy. And so this is what he's really been teaching me. And it's also come with a letting go. It's almost like the Lord is letting me walk now like a small toddler with no hands, like he's not aiding my hands. And so this comes with change, and this comes with discernment. And so one of the things that I used to do that I don't do anymore because he's showed me, I used to look everywhere for signs. I used to look everywhere for God. I wanted to hear from God. I wanted to know, that God was talking to me, and he was. And then there was something new that he said, I'm going to now let you walk. And so I realized in this next season of my life, as my husband and I were preparing for the next stages, this included a visit to Australia to visit his family, and this also included him coming here and us having the wedding here. So this was actually those areas of testing for me where I actually had to lay back on seeking the signs, because I realized I made less mistake, and there's no fear of making mistakes. God actually did that purposely to grow me, and that I wouldn't fear of making mistakes. How stressful would this life be if we're constantly worrying about making mistakes? That's not how kids are with their parents. They know that their parents will protect them and steer them in the right direction. When they start to stray, or when something happens, hey, get back up, try it again, right? That's how a good parent is, and all of the good things that our parents have done for us and have showed us. If we look for the good, we will find the good. And those are the things that, think about how much more our Father in heaven, our God. So one of the things that has really freed me from this, first, it's a surrender. It's surrendering and understanding that the Lord will show us what we need to see when we need to see it. And I've tested this, because the major decisions in my life where God needed me to do major things like move states, he needed me to leave my career, all of these major things in my life, God was very clear. I did not miss the direction. He was very clear and spoke to my spirit very strongly. And so one of the things that I want to share that have really helped me in releasing this, in surrendering, I've actually been freed. I've been freed to just rest. And when God wants to catch my attention, he catches my attention. And this includes with signs. And so it's actually a more assuring thing when you're not looking for it, and yet something smacks you in the face. And I say like that because there's times where he's very obvious like that. And even the subtle ones, it's like you're not even looking for it, and it's there. Your eyes have focused on it. It has been highlighted. And many times he will multiple times, he will show you the same thing so that you know. So a lot of times what I'll do too is I'll see something, it's been highlighted, I'll check it. Okay, I got that. But I leave it right there. And if it's something that he really wants to continue on, he'll continue on it, and it's something for now. And sometimes when I shelf something, I put it on the shelf, and I'll remember it because he'll remind me of it sometimes months down the line. And I'll remember, hey, I remember I shelved this. I remember you were showing me this. Or he'll give me a memory of a journal entry that I had done a year ago or months ago. So it's incredible how a lot of times the Lord allows us to go through these things, that we can testify of them, because many of us are going through these things. We are united. We are entangled. we can rest. There comes a place, wherever you are in that season of your life. I'm just sharing the season that I'm in right now. And because the next stage of the next chapter, the next steps of our life are not clear, there's still this beautiful place that we stay in this continual rest. And although, if I'm honest, I desire to be with my husband already. I desire, and I almost, it's almost like I'm scared of not knowing when it's going to happen, what's going to happen. And it's good to acknowledge these emotions are valid. What you're feeling is valid. The Lord goes through these things with you. He doesn't want you to ignore them. He doesn't want you to just put them under as if they're not important. He wants you to go through them with him. And so yesterday night, I was really kind of just, the last couple days, my husband went back to Australia, and I've been sad and not knowing, we're waiting. We're in this waiting season. We're in this waiting place. And last night I just felt myself a little bit anxious. And I remembered in my husband's testimony that he was talking about this armor of love. And that every time we encounter the power of God in any form, we're encountering the love of God. So I really practiced. I needed to exercise bringing out this love that is within me, because the temple of God is within us. He is within us. The Trinity is within us, the Godhead. So I told myself last night, and I began to exercise what my husband had just testified of. And I began to just breathe and really focus on my breathing and relaxing every part of my body. And it was true. I hadn't realized how much tension we have in our feet and in our eyes, just like he spoke. I hadn't realized how much we need to exercise the things that he's showing us. He has given us these things. He's given us revelations of how to find the peace within us and the love within us, because he's within us. So it's in these moments where this is where we got to practice and exercise and get stronger. So I wanted to share that, because I know that we're not the only ones going through this. I know we're not the only ones. And God is so good, and he's so patient with us in these places that he's called us to be. No matter how difficult they are, there is this peace in these places. We might have these emotions and these fears, but there is this peace knowing. The stronger your trust in God is, your faith in God is, the stronger, the more you realize in these situations that would normally break somebody, you realize how close he is. You begin to really come into the knowledge of who you are and who's within you. And so last night I was just full with this peace. The anxiety just disappeared. The worry just disappeared. And I began to just feel this rest in my body. My hands began to tingle. I really encountered what my husband was talking about. These things that other people testify to. It's so beautiful, because it's the way that God is interacting with each of us. It's incredible. We can rest even in these places that are so unknowing. We don't know. But there's a rest that we can find. There's a peace that we can find. There's a love that we can find, because that one is within us. And he's given each other, he's given us to help, to give hope, to inspire, to encourage one another, to testify of what we are encountering, because church is not just the letter, it is a power. The letter without power is nothing. God bless you guys.